So a video I like to make leading up to the NBA season. Every NBA team's most likely Hall of Famer that's currently on their active roster. And I think the NBA Hall of Fame is fascinating because it may not just be your NBA accolades. It could be what you've done in college, what you've done overseas, in the Olympics, or just FIBA, or maybe even Eurobasket like we saw with Dennis Schroeder over this summer for Team Germany. So some teams are going to have multiple Hall of Famers on their roster, and some teams may not have a single Hall of Famer on their roster. So the percentages you guys see are if they retire today, that's I think the odds they get in. 100%, yeah, they retire today, they're in the Hall of Fame, no doubt about it. 75% chance they probably get in. 50-50 obviously just could go either way. 25% they still have a little bit more to do in the NBA in terms of their resume. 0% I just had to pick somebody that has the highest ceiling and potential to make the Hall of Fame one day. So we're going to start with the most obvious Hall of Famer. He probably could have retired 15 years ago and would have made the NBA Hall of Fame. LeBron James of the LA Lakers. I also believe if Luka Doncic retired today, he would be a Hall of Famer given his resume at his age. And he also did a little bit overseas as well for Real Madrid. But yeah, LeBron James has as much of an NBA Hall of Fame resume that you can maybe ever do. This is like a 2K My Career Hall of Fame resume. He's going into year 23. He's a 21-time All-Star. He's a 21-time All-NBA. 21-time All-NBA. That number doesn't even feel real. 6-time All-Defensive Team member, 3-time All-Star Game MVP, 4-time champion, 4-time Finals MVP. He even won the in-season tournament award in 2024 as well. You either look at him as the GOAT or right up there with Michael Jordan. Either way, LeBron James is obviously the most likely Hall of Famer because if there's 2 Hall of Famers on the team, I went with the player that's going to retire sooner. And who knows, LeBron may play until he's 60, but I do think he's going to retire before Luka Doncic. I know, a hot take. So let's go to the city of brotherly love. We'll talk about the Philadelphia 76ers. I think they have 3 Hall of Famers on their roster. I do think Paul George eventually gets in. I do also believe if Joel Embiid retired, he would get in. He's got some longevity in the league. I still think he can have a couple more good years, and he won that 2023 MVP. He won a gold medal with Team USA in the 2024 Olympics, but I'm not going with either of those two. I'm going with Kyle Lowry because I do believe that Kyle Lowry is going to make it to the Hall of Fame, and he's going to retire earlier and quicker than Paul George and Joel Embiid. Kyle Lowry is a 6-time All-Star. He was the second best player on the 2019 championship roster with the Toronto Raptors. He's only a 1-time All-NBA member. He's averaged 14 points, 4 rebounds, and 6 assists throughout his career. His best years came with the Toronto Raptors, where he averaged 17 points, 7 assists, and 5 rebounds. And like I said, won that title with them in 2019. There is a scenario where Kyle Lowry is not a Hall of Famer, and I would be wrong here. And it would have made a little bit more sense to go with Paul George or Joel Embiid, but I do think eventually Kyle Lowry will get in before Embiid and Paul George. That's why I went with him. All right, let's go to our first 75% player, and that's going to be Donovan Mitchell of the Cleveland Cavaliers. I don't think Donovan Mitchell would for sure be a Hall of Famer if he retired today at 29 years old. He's got a great resume, 6-time All-Star, 2-time All-NBA member, including making an All-NBA first team in the 2025 season. That is a very incredible feat where you're a top 5 player in the NBA. He's averaged over 24 points throughout his career, 26 points per game for the Cavs over the last 3 seasons. He finished runner-up to Ben Simmons in that 2018 Rookie of the Year race. He's been the best player on a 1 seed with the Utah Jazz in that 2021 season, but the thing Donovan Mitchell has never done, made it to a conference finals, and I do think his lack of achievements in the playoffs would hold him back to making it to the Hall of Fame. He doesn't have the college numbers at Louisville, and he barely has done anything overseas in international play. He just appeared for the USA team in the FIBA 2019 World Cup that didn't win gold or silver. And I do think when he retires, Donovan Mitchell will be a Hall of Famer. That's why I have this at 75%. I think there would be a push for him to make it to the Hall of Fame if he somehow retired today. And I think a better question would be how many current Cavaliers can make the Hall of Fame one day? Can Evan Mobley make it? Can Jared Allen make it? Can Darius Garland make it along with Donovan Mitchell? So usually for the Utah Jazz, this is where I would just take a young player swing, talk about Ace Bailey, because I do feel like Lowry Markkanen at his age is kind of losing that momentum to make it to the Hall of Fame one day, but there's actually an easy answer here. I don't think he's 100% guaranteed to make it to the Hall of Fame, so I have him around 75%, but I do think he will get into the Hall of Fame when it's all said and done, and that is Kevin Love. Yes, Kevin Love is on the Utah Jazz currently. He was traded with Kyle Anderson from the Miami Heat to the Utah Jazz over the summer, where John Collins ended up going to the Clippers and Norman Powell went to the Heat. There's a very good chance Kevin Love is not on the Utah Jazz roster at the end of the year, or maybe even by the time you guys are seeing this video, but right now when I'm recording this, Kevin Love is 37 years old. He's a 5-time All-Star. He won an NBA title as the 3rd best player on the 2016 Cavaliers. He's gone to a couple other NBA finals, with LeBron on those Cavs teams as well. He's a two-time All-NBA member, and his best years definitely came in Minnesota. 6 seasons in Minnesota, 2009 to 2014. He averaged 19 points, 12 rebounds, and shot 36% from 3. Was just such a monster down low before he got skinny. He was never that same player in Minnesota for Cleveland, but hey, maybe you can make an argument they don't win that 26 title without Kevin Love. Like I said, though, I do think he's going to make it to the Hall of Fame eventually. Just may not be on the first ballot. Let's talk about another former Minnesota Timberwolves big man. I'm going with Karl-Anthony Towns, actually, over Jalen Brunson for the New York Knicks nomination here. Karl-Anthony Towns just has a longer track record of being a top player than Jalen Brunson. Brunson didn't really become a top 10 or 15 player since 2022 when he signed with the Knicks. Cat has been one of the best big men in the NBA since he got drafted back in 2015. He was part of a Kentucky Wildcats team that went 38-0, then lost to Wisconsin in the Final Four, but you can also make an argument Cat is maybe the best shooting big man in NBA history, up there with Dirk Nowitzki. Cat so far, 10 years in the league, he's averaged 23 points, 11 rebounds, 3 assists, 52% from the field, 40% from 3. 5-time All-Star, 3-time All-NBA member, including 2025. He won the 2016 Rookie of the Year award and is still just 29 years old. I do think Cat would have an argument even if he retired today to make it to the Hall of Fame. I should have also mentioned for Kevin Love that he was part of the 2012 USA Olympic team that won gold in London. That would help him as well. All right, let's go to the Washington Wizards, one of the more fascinating teams to look at. Now, they have some older players like CJ McCollum and Chris Middleton. I don't think either of those two players are making it to the Hall of Fame. So I'm going to decide to take one of their young guys. I think you can decide between Bilal Coulibaly, Trey Johnson. I actually chose Alex Sarr for this. Now, if Alex Sarr retired today, he would not make it to the NBA Hall of Fame, but I do think he has the highest potential out of anybody on this roster for what he can do as a two-way player. He already shot 30% from 3 in his rookie year as a teenager at 7 feet tall. And like I said, I'm just trying to predict into the future here. Yeah, it is an extreme long shot, and we may not know if Alex Sarr is a Hall of Famer for another 20 years, but he also plays for France. France is on the rise in Olympic play as well. He could definitely win a gold or silver medal with them in the 28, 32, 36 Olympics while Alex Sarr is still in his prime. I would just say, like, if Middleton or McCollum retire, they're probably not going to make it to the Hall of Fame. Their best days are behind them, so I'm taking somebody that could maybe have a higher ceiling and a better peak than those two players. So it really came down between Trey Johnson and Alex Sarr. I went with Sarr, but I'd be okay if you went with Trey Johnson. And the only other 0% player I went with, Montas Buzelis of the Chicago Bulls. I don't think Kobe White is going to be a Hall of Famer, although he could be in the Hall very good one day. Same with Nikola Vucevic as well. That was one that I was teetering with. Vucevic is 34 years old. He's going to be 35 this year. His best days are definitely behind him as well. Now, he's going to have over 1,000 games in the NBA. He was drafted back in 2011. He's got a career 17 points, 10 rebounds, 50% from the field, 35% from 3. One of the better shooting big men of this century. It's just he never really had that peak. He never had the playoff success. He was never the top guy on a team whatsoever. I do think he's very similar to like a Chris Middleton or a CJ McCollum, so I went with somebody that has a little bit more upside long-term in Montas Buzelis because of the unknown. Yes, if Montas Buzelis retired today, he would not be a Hall of Famer, but what if Montas Buzelis can make it to more than 2 All-Stars in his career, because that's what Vucevic made, just 2. That was in 2019 and in 2021, so I'm just taking the upside pick in Montas Buzelis, who had a very strong second half, but yeah, these we're just trying to project 20 years into the future. All right, so let's go to the Brooklyn Nets. This one's also interesting as well, because you could go with Cam Thomas, but I do think the way he plays and just what he's achieved so far, which isn't much in the league because he's mainly been on some bad Nets teams, it's going to be a long shot for him to make it. You could go with one of their incoming rookies, Yegor, Traore, SROS, just based on potential. I chose Michael Porter Jr. here. I think if he retired today, probably like a 25% chance he makes it to the Hall of Fame. Probably wouldn't. He's still 27 years old. Now, he didn't play in 2019 with an injury. He played 55 games in 2020. He played just 9 games in 2022. But Michael Porter Jr. has a finals ring in his possession. He was maybe the 3rd or 4th best player on the 2023 Nuggets. He's never made it to an All-Star in his career, but he's been a pretty solid scorer. He shot 40% from 3 in his career. He averaged 18 points and 7 rebounds last year. And now he's like the de facto #1 in Brooklyn this year. What if Michael Porter Jr. averages 25 points and is an All-Star and he could just elevate his game a little bit this season? I mean, it's definitely in the cards. It's not impossible. That's why I chose him here, because of what he did in Denver, winning that 2020 2023 title, something that like Nikola Vucevic hasn't done, won that ring. Now let's go back to some locks to make it to the Hall of Fame. I mean, the Clippers have a bunch of Hall of Famers on their roster. James Harden, Kawhi Leonard, maybe Zubats makes it one day, maybe Bradley Beal makes it one day, Ty Lue could be in the Hall of Fame as well, but it's going to be Chris Paul. Chris Paul is 40 years old. He's going to retire before Kawhi Leonard or James Harden. He was going to be a Hall of Famer 10 years ago as well. Chris Paul is the point guard. CP3 has 12 All-Stars in his career. He's a 5-time assist champion, 6-time steal champion, 11-time All-NBA. He won the 2006 Rookie of the Year award, 9-time All-Defensive member for a 6-foot point guard, 2013 All-Star MVP. He was a part of the NBA 75th anniversary team. So once he made that, he was a lock to make it to the Hall of Fame. 17 points and 9 assists in his career, over 1,300 games played. Going into year number 21, he was the 4th overall pick in the 2005 draft. He won 2 gold medals, one in 2008 in Beijing and the other one on the 2012 London team. And like I said, he could have retired a decade ago and would have made it to the Hall of Fame. And for the Houston Rockets, they currently have the greatest player in Team USA history, Kevin Durant, on their roster, who would be a Hall of Famer just for what he's done overseas and also what he's done in the NBA. Kevin Durant, going into year number 18, is arguably the best pure scorer in NBA history. He's a 15-time All-Star, 4-time scoring champ, 2-time NBA champion, 2-time Finals MVP, 2008 Rookie of the Year winner, 2-time All-Star Game MVP, 2014 MVP, 11-time NBA part of that 75 anniversary team. Just one of the best scorers, like I said, in NBA history, and has also won 4 Olympic gold medals: 2012 London, 2016 Brazil, 2020 Tokyo, and most recently last year, 2024 Paris. Yeah, Kevin Durant's a lock. He's been a lock for a decade now. Another lock to make it to the Hall of Fame would have been 5 years ago, probably would have been after the 2016 season. Steph Curry of the Golden State Warriors, the man that changed the NBA as we know it. He revolutionized the three-point shot. He's an 11-time All-Star, 11-time All-NBA member, 2-time All-Star Game MVP, 4-time NBA champion, 1-time Finals MVP in 2022, 2-time MVP winner, including a unanimous MVP award in 2016, where he was the scoring champion that season, averaged 30 points and knocked down 5 threes a night. He won his first gold medal with the 2024 USA team in Paris. Obviously, that famous shot against Team France in that gold medal game. We know that Draymond Green and Jimmy Butler would also be Hall of Famers as well. He's got 7 elite years in the NBA. He'd easily be a Hall of Famer. He's got 3 MVP awards. You can make an argument he should have had 5 MVP awards in his career, and he's 30 years old. That's Nikola Jokic of the Denver Nuggets, the 2023 Finals MVP, 7-time All-NBA member, 7-time All-Star over the last 7 seasons. Maybe we're witnessing one of the greatest offensive peaks in NBA history, maybe the greatest offensive peak in NBA history. Last year, in his runner-up MVP season, averaged 29.5 points, 10 assists, 12.7 rebounds, shot 57% from the field, 41% from 3 for a center, 80% from the free throw line, didn't win MVP, but yeah, Jokic is a lock. And also Giannis Antetokounmpo is a lock as well for the Milwaukee Bucks. Giannis, just as good of a resume as Nikola Jokic, has 1 less MVP, but has that Finals MVP with Milwaukee in 2021, 9-time All-Star, 5-time All-Defensive member, including winning the 2020 MVP and DPOY in the same season, 9-time All-NBA. He's won a Most Improved award, and he's part of NBA's 75th anniversary team. He just averaged 30, 12, and 6.5 last year for the Milwaukee Bucks, another lock. All right, I'll go back to some of the locks in a little bit. Let's talk about some of the young guys that have had solid careers so far, but definitely have a long ways to go. The next 6 I do have at a 25% chance. The first one is Scottie Barnes, and what bumps up Scottie Barnes from 0 to 25, he did win that 2022 Rookie of the Year award, beating out Evan Mobley and Cade Cunningham. Barnes was also an All-Star in 2024, where he averaged 20 points, 6 assists, 8 rebounds, and shot 47% from the field. He's been a good defender in his career, a good passer, still just 24 years old. He would not be a Hall of Famer if he retired today, but he's had a very good rookie contract so far. He's on the right path. Hey, he got a max contract for a reason. I just briefly mentioned him, Cade Cunningham of the Detroit Pistons. I don't think they have any veterans on their roster that would make it to the Hall of Fame. Cade is 24 years old, like Scottie Barnes. He was 7th in MVP voting last year, an All-Star, All-NBA third team, led the Detroit Pistons to a playoff appearance for the first time since 2019. He averaged 26 points, 9 assists, 6 rebounds. He was the #1 overall pick in the 2021 draft. I do feel like Cade Cunningham can actually win an MVP award one day. It would not be a Hall of Famer if he retired today, but like I said with Scottie, is on the right track. So I'm also going to have Paolo Banchero, Orlando Magic's most likely Hall of Famer, at a 25%. Similar career start to somebody like Cade Cunningham so far. Paolo Banchero was an All-Star in 2024 as a sophomore, and he led the Orlando Magic to a 5 seed in the Eastern Conference, took the 4-seeded Cavs to Game 7. That's not going to help you get into the Hall of Fame, but he's on a great trajectory right now. now for somebody that was the #1 overall pick in the 2022 draft. He averaged 26 points, 5 assists, and 7.5 rebounds in 2025, but unfortunately, he only played 46 games. Therefore, he wasn't able to make an All-Star game or an All-NBA appearance. I do expect Paolo to be an All-NBA player in 2026, and honestly, for most of the next decade, Paolo could even win a gold medal with Team USA one day, or is definitely going to be at least a part of those Olympic teams coming up in 2028 and in 2032. And then I also had Wemby here as well. I don't think Wemby would be a Hall of Famer if he retired today, but you can't really ask for a better first 2 years in the league than Wemby. And it's just crazy what his resume would be already if he played 65 games last year, because he would have had an additional All-NBA, All-Defensive Team, and a DPOY under his belt as a teenager. Now Wemby is 21 years old, but last year he averaged 3.8 blocks. He was an All-Star. He finished runner-up to Rudy Gobert in the 2024 DPOY voting. So far through 2 years, he's averaged 22 points, 10.8 rebounds, 3.8 assists, and there's a chance Wemby could win MVP this year as a 22-year-old. And then my next 3 players honestly should be at 50% by now, but I do feel like either injuries or some off-the-court decisions have been holding them back. We'll start off with Zion Williamson of the New Orleans Pelicans. So far throughout Zion's career, 214 games after getting drafted in 2019. He's averaged 24.7 points, 6.5 rebounds, 4 assists. He's a 2-time All-Star. He's been incredibly talented when he's on the floor. He's been a top 15 player when he's on the floor over the last few years, but that's just the thing. He's got to be on the floor, and that could hold him back from being in the Hall of Fame one day. Ja Morant of the Memphis Grizzlies, I also have in this tier, the 2nd overall pick after Zion in that 2019 draft. He definitely has a more impressive resume than Zion so far. 2-time All-Star, 2022 Most Improved Player, 2022 All-NBA, 2nd team for Memphis. He won that 2020 Rookie of the Year award, and he's also brought Memphis to two seeds in the Western Conference. He averaged 27 points, 6.5 assists in that 2022 season. He's around 22 points and 7 assists on his career. And the last one is LaMelo Ball. He did win that 2021 Rookie of the Year, just beating out Anthony Edwards. He was a 2022 All-Star throughout his career through 5 years, 21 points, 6 rebounds, 7.5 assists. He's incredibly talented when he's on the floor, but like Zion, he has been banged up a ton. Over the last 3 years, he's played 36 games, 22 games, and 47 games. He's definitely going to have to be more available on the floor if he ever wants to make it to the Hall of Fame one day. I don't know if we're ever going to see LaMelo, Ja, or Zion play international basketball whatsoever. They didn't really accomplish much in college. Now, Zion definitely accomplished the most. A lot of that was hype, but hey, Duke was very good that year. Ja Morant did make it to the tourney with Murray State. LaMelo played in New Zealand. And now some guys that I think can go either way. I have 4 players at 50%. If they retire today, it could be a coin flip. First one is Trae Young of the Atlanta Hawks. Trae Young going into year 8 makes me feel old, but he's been one of the more productive point guards since entering the NBA in 2019. He finished runner-up to Luka Doncic that season in Rookie of the Year voting. And then over the next 6 years, Trae Young has averaged 10 assists per game, 26.5 points, and has shot 35.5% from 3. Trae Young is a 4-time All-Star. He was the 2025 assist champion, 2022 All-NBA 3rd-team member, and he is 27 years old. He did make it to a conference finals in 2021. They lost to Milwaukee. He was the best player on that Hawks team. He was a good player at Oklahoma in 2018. He's never played any international games yet for Team USA. Like I said, I think it'd be a coin flip for Trae Young, but Trae Young could definitely raise that. DeMar DeRozan, my other coin flip. Hey, we're at the end of his career. He is 36 years old. He's a 3-time All-NBA member, once in 2017 as All-NBA 3rd team, All-NBA 2nd team in 2018, both with the Raptors, and then All-NBA 2nd team in 2022 with the Chicago Bulls. He's made it to a couple conference finals with the Toronto Raptors. He's a 6-time All-Star in his career, one of the best mid-range scorers of this generation, 21 points, 4 rebounds, 4 assists in his career, has shot 47% from the field, never really adapted to the 3-ball in today's modern NBA. He did win a gold medal in 2016 with Team USA, which will help. Let me know, do you think DeMar DeRozan will be a Hall of Famer? I also got to give a shout out to Dennis Schroeder on the Sacramento Kings as well. He just won a gold medal with Germany in the Eurobasket this summer. He won a gold in the 2023 FIBA tournament, and he's averaged 19 points and 8 assists on 46% shooting in his FIBA career. That's also going to be one of the Hall of Fame nominations for somebody for what they've done outside the NBA than inside the NBA. I also had Bam Adebayo at a 50% as well. He's somebody you could maybe say at 75%. Bam is going into year number 9 this year. He was the last pick in the lottery in the 2017 draft by the Miami Heat. He has made 4 all-defensive 2nd teams in his career, 1 all-defensive 1st team in 2024 with the Heat. From 2020 to 2024, he finished top 5 in Defensive Player of the Year voting as well. He's averaged around 15 points and 9 rebounds in his career. He was the 2nd best player on 2 Miami Heat teams that made it to the NBA Finals, once in 2020 in the bubble, and then again in 2023. He's a 3-time All-Star. He's won 2 gold medals, one in 2020 in Tokyo, the other one in 2024 in Paris last summer. I think you can maybe bump up Bam to 75%. You can let me know, Heat fans, what you you think down below. And the other player that I had 50% at, Pascal Siakam of the Indiana Pacers. Maybe you think that Haliburton is just going to be a lock one day, but Siakam is going to retire earlier than Tyrese Haliburton, and I think he will have a chance. He was arguably the third best player on the 2019 Toronto Raptors team that won it all. He's a two-time All-NBA member. He won the 2019 Most Improved Player Award. He was the 2025 Eastern Conference Finals MVP for the Indiana Pacers over the New York Knicks. He's a three-time All-Star. He's averaged around 18 points, 7 rebounds in his career, even with being a late bloomer, the 27th overall pick in the 2016 draft out of New Mexico State. And I think he's got a couple more all-star caliber years left in his career. I think Devin Booker's got to be at 75% right now. You can even make an argument he should be 100% after winning a gold medal last summer with Team USA. Booker in his career, he's going into year number 11 now, 4-time all-star, 2-time All-NBA member. He's averaged around 24 points, 4 rebounds, and 5 assists in his career. He's been a part of some really bad teams. Not his fault. That's more so the front office there in Phoenix. And he got so close to winning a title there in 2021. Okay, so I also really struggled with Shai. Shai is 27 years old. I was like, is he 100% lock if he retired today to make it to the Hall of Fame, or should I put him at 75%? I gave him the 100% because last year he had almost as perfect of a season than you can really ask for from a player. He won the scoring title, 32.7 points per game. He was the best player on a 68-win team in a loaded conference. He won Western Conference Finals MVP and Finals MVP. He was an all-star, All-NBA first team, somehow got some Defensive Player of the Year votes as well. Shai was kind of a role player as a rookie for the Clippers in 2019. He headlined the Paul George trade that offseason, and the rest is history. Over 6 years with OKC, he's averaged 27 points, 5.5 assists, and 5 rebounds a night. He's 3-time All-Star. Like I said, scoring champion, Finals MVP, regular season MVP. Do you think Shai would be a Hall of Famer today if he never played a single minute in the NBA again? And then let's finish out on some locks. I also believe Jason Tatum would be 100% a Hall of Famer if he retired today. Gold medal last year, even though he wasn't as involved on that team than maybe he would have liked, but he's a 6-time All-Star, won an NBA title with the Boston Celtics in 2024, 5-time All-NBA member, 2023 All-Star Game MVP, 2022 Eastern Conference Finals MVP, has averaged 23 points, 7 rebounds in his career. Unless you think Jaylen Brown will be a lock to make it already, since he won Finals MVP in 2024 and he's older than Jason Tatum. For the Dallas Mavericks, it's pretty much just whoever retires first between Klay Thompson, Anthony Davis, and Kyrie Irving. If I had to guess, it's going to be Klay Thompson. Klay's around 2 years older than Kyrie Irving and 3 years older than Anthony Davis. He is one of the greatest shooters in NBA history, part of maybe the greatest backcourt in NBA history with Steph Curry on those Warriors teams, a 5-time All-Star, 4-time NBA champion, 2-time All-NBA member, has averaged 19 points in his career, over 40% from 3. So yeah, if he ends up retiring quicker than Kyrie or Anthony Davis, he's their most likely Hall of Famer because he's a lock. For the Portland Trailblazers, it's tough because if you think Drew Holiday should be a Hall of Famer, he might be neck and neck with Damian Lillard when they would get in. I just still ended up going with Dame because I think Drew could be fringe, but Drew did win an NBA title in 2024, one of the best defensive guards of this generation, won a gold medal for Team USA last year as well, 2-time All-Star in his career. So you could definitely go with Drew. For Dame though, one of the best shooters in NBA history, 9-time All-Star, 7-time All-NBA member, and he's part of the NBA 75th anniversary team. He doesn't need to play another minute in the NBA to make it to the Hall of Fame. You could say Golden State's most likely Hall of Famer is actually Al Horford, not Steph Curry. And for Minnesota, I don't think Mike Conley's going to be a Hall of Famer, so you may think I'm going to go with Anthony Davis. No, I'm going with Rudy Gobert. He does not need to play another second in the NBA to make it to the Hall of Fame. He's one of the greatest defensive players in NBA history. He has 4 Defensive Player of the Year awards. Honestly, if he had just 3, he would still make it to the Hall of Fame. Obviously, he never had as good of a peak as most of the guys we have talked about. He is a 3-time All-Star, 8-time All-Defensive member. Like I said, 4-time Defensive Player of the Year winner, 4-time All-NBA, 1-time rebound champ, 1-time block champion. He's never made it to the NBA Finals. He's made it to 2 conference finals with Minnesota. But yeah, like I said, one of the greatest defensive players in NBA history. He's going to make it to the Hall of Fame. So yeah, that is going to be for me. I hope you guys did enjoy. Let me know if you agree or disagree with who I brought up as your favorite team's most likely Hall of Famer down below. And if you guys did enjoy, I'd appreciate you dropping a thumbs up. I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.